Hi and a very good evening to all of you. Welcome to the regulatory body session of ADDA 247. So today I'm going to take up the Sustainable Development Goals report that has been recently published by the United Nations for the year 2020. Okay, so ये report basically इसका एक summary अगर मैं यहीं पे बता दूँ तो it basically accounts for the impact on the progress of Sustainable Development Goals, each of the 17 SDGs. The impact that they have suffered because of the COVID-19 pandemic, because of the Russian-Ukraine crisis, and of course the impact of climate change and disruption in global supply chain. So you all already know, हम लोग already general awareness में बहुत सारे ऐसे topics cover कर चुके हैं जिसमें RBI का report आया है that is downscaled India's GDP growth. We are already aware about the rise in crude oil prices and the prices in basic food prices and commodities like wheat and sunflower. Okay, we all already know that Russia and Ukraine, they together account for the largest sources of food and crude that is supplied to the world. ठीक है, तो ये सारे फैक्ट हमको पता है. सो उसी को ध्यान में रखते हुए अगर आपसे वन लाइनर क्वेश्चन में थीम भी आ गई ना सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट गोल की, तो yes, you will be able to remember. Why? Because the report itself accounts for, it acknowledges the fact, the report basically acknowledges the fact that yes, there has been a setback, there has been a major setback in the achievement and the progress towards the achievement of sustainable development goal because of these issues and factors. ठीक है, तो इसीलिए रिपोर्ट का जो थीम है, इट इज फ्रॉम क्राइसिस. द रिपोर्ट इज बेसिकली थीम्ड ऑन a roadmap that leads all the countries from crisis towards sustainable development, right? From crisis, the crisis being pandemic, climate change, conflict, right? Pandemic, global COVID, climate change and conflict. Triple C, or you can say C cube से आप याद रख लो. इन तीन चीजों पे मेन हाईलाइट है रिपोर्ट का. सारे के सारे सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट गोल इन तीन एस्पेक्ट से कैसे अफेक्ट हुए हैं, मेन उनका यही मुद्दा है, यही उसका क्रक्स है. सारी रिपोर्ट का क्रक्स यही है, राइट? C cube, रिमेंबर, कॉन्फ्लिक्ट, कोविड एंड क्लाइमेट चेंज. That is from crisis, that is C cube crisis, to sustainable development. Of course, a roadmap by which the report says main agenda. Roadmap से क्या मतलब है? Leaving no one behind. Roadmap का agenda is to leave no one behind. Take everyone inclusive sustainable development को कैसे actualize किया जाए. That is the main focus, the main agenda and the main theme of the entire Sustainable Development Goal report of 2022 that is published by the United Nations Sustainable Development Solution Network. Sustainable Development Solution Network ने ये report publish करी है. It is a global initiative. It is set up by the United Nations only to measure the progress of sustainable development in collaboration with Cambridge University. 40 minutes, less than 40 minutes. Try करूँगी. Thank you. Okay, so if you want राइट, सो इसका रिपोर्ट का PDF आपको यूनाइटेड नेशंस की वेबसाइट से मिल जाएगा, राइट? what we will study and discuss together, we will together discuss an insight on the implications for India. इंडिया का क्या स्टेटस रहा है? You all are already aware, it is already out there, all the key initiatives taken by the Indian government on each of the 17 sustainable development goals. तो सबसे पहले मैं आपको ये बता दूं, इंडिया में सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट गोल्स कौन सी एजेंसी इम्प्लीमेंट कर रही है? ऑफ कोर्स इट इज द नेशनल थिंक टैंक पॉलिसी of the government of India, that is Niti Aayog. Niti Aayog is the key agency for implementation of sustainable development goals in India, and of the 14 sustainable development goals are being implemented. Okay, policies and schemes have been taken as though I hope you remember जब से SDGs launch हुए हैं, ये 17 sustainable development goals, I hope you remember them thoroughly because these are very important from the exam point of view it is very important that you take a screenshot. आप इसका एक screenshot ले लो, और at least you should remember that अगर exam में आ जाता है goal 17, तो you should know that goal 17 is related to life below water. अगर आप ऐसे राइटिंग लिख रहे हो RBI ग्रेड बी या फिर नाबार्ड में ESI या ARD का आप डिस्क्रिप्टिव लिख रहे हो, then you should know that sustainable development 3 is related to good health, 2 is related to zero hunger. तो ये सारी चीजें आपके सिर्फ वन लाइनर MCQs में ही नहीं, बट ESI, ARD, essay राइटिंग, डिस्क्रिप्टिव राइटिंग, इवन इंटरव्यू स्टेज तक ये सारी इंफॉर्मेशन एंड नॉलेज आपके काफी हद तक काम आ सकती है, राइट? सो दिस page is actually very important. It has all the game because it will give you pointers, it will give you crucial pointers for your essay writing as well. ठीक है, तो let's start. Yes, we already discussed these 3 points. हम लोगों ने 3 points already discuss कर लिए. C cube. These are the 3 crises. These are the 3 crisis areas on which the report is based on, and the report discuss a roadmap out of it. A roadmap out of it. Okay. ठीक है, तो लेट्स जस्ट स्टार्ट. लेट्स स्टार्ट क्विकली, जल्दी से स्टार्ट करते हैं. एंड पॉवर्टी इन ऑल द स्टेट्स फ्रॉम एवरीवेयर. सारे स्टेट से पॉवर्टी इन ऑल द स्टेट्स मीन्स ऑल द फॉर्म्स ऑफ पॉवर्टी शुड बी एंडेड. सो बेसिकली हुआ क्या, रिपोर्ट के अकॉर्डिंग टू द सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट, यू फर्स्ट हैव अ गुड लुक एट दिस चार्ट. हैव अ वेरी गुड लुक एट दिस चार्ट. आप पढ़ लो. Sorry for the bad throat, guys. Please bear with me. So basically it accounts for the status of poverty. ठीक है, more than four years of progress have been taken aback because of the COVID-19 pandemic. As you can see from the graph over here, poverty, number of people living less than 1.90 a day, they were reducing up until 2019. 2019 तक ये reduce हो रहे थे, but अचानक से pandemic आया, lockdowns began to be imposed, and because of lockdown and everything, 75 to 95 million people were pushed to poverty in 2020 alone. 2022 तक, according to the report, 2022 तक 95 million people will be living below $1.90 a day, and that pushes the efforts of the poverty. It has significantly pushed the efforts of poverty reduction in all the countries back by 4 years. मतलब कि 4 साल तक और हम लोगों को इस गोल के तरफ हमको पीछे आना पड़ गया, इंक्लूडिंग इंडिया, right, including India. So it is like a very, very daunting situation. The graphs are very scary because see, as you can see, 2015 से 18 तक till here poverty has been seen a decline. The rate of poverty has been declining, and this is actually a very, very sharp increase, right? और अभी ये बढ़ के again it is expected to reach 95 million. Why? Because the situation is actually worsened. It is worsened by the crisis that is ongoing in Russia, Ukraine, right? It is worsened by the crisis, by climate change and other sort of disasters, and of course COVID-19 pandemic, जिससे आज भी situation नए variants आते चले जा रहे हैं. Not many countries are implementing their vaccine strategy properly, so all these issues are happening, they are coming up. Okay, so global poverty rate 8.3% से बढ़ के 9.2% हो गई है, so which is quite an extreme situation. And of course the report goes on to talk about poverty rate in working population countries. तो सबसे ज़्यादा poverty rate sub-Saharan and Oceania. Oceania, as you can see, it comprises of Australia and New Zealand. Okay, तो sub-Saharan countries में working population, that is जो डेली वेज अर्नर थे या फिर जो because of the loss of work due to the COVID-19 pandemic, a large chunk of working population was pushed below the poverty line. So that is what also the report talks about. Also the proportion of population. So now the report is also talking. What's the class starting time? See, the class starting time is 6. but because of some technical glitch we could not start at that point of time. So but usually 6 to 7 p.m. I will be taking up some of the very important general awareness sections that can be relevant to your exam, right? Especially phase 1 NABARD के लिए तो होगा ही, but also you know for the phase 2 paper also such reports and indices, they happen to be important. Okay. So unemployment protection के बारे में report बात कर रहा है. 39% of the measures were included directly for the vulnerable countries. Okay, so unemployment protection की बात कर रहा है. Unemployed person receiving unemployment cash benefit, income level of the country, disaster related mortality per 1 lakh population. So yes, the report also talks about poverty induced by the disaster related mortality per 1 lakh population. So Sendai framework report के according 2020 में 5.74 5.74 was the extent of disaster related mortality in the year 2022, and of this 5.74 80% was due to COVID. 80% of the disaster related mortality was due to COVID-19 pandemic. Okay. Class going on. So end of hunger to achieve food security. So sustainable development goal 2 के बारे में. So let's just rush up this session. Rush up this session. Sustainable development goal 2 that aims to end hunger, achieve food security. So that was also worsened. Why? Because high rates of child malnutrition. Now when the report talks about child malnutrition, it includes both underweight children as well as overweight children. That is child stunting and child overweight. Both the situation account for child malnutrition. Okay, both the situation account for child malnutrition, and of course because of COVID-19 and because of conflict and increase in food prices of especially wheat and oil, and of course the increase in prices of fertilizers के prices increase हुए हैं because Russia and Ukraine are one of the key fertilizer exporters to the rest of the world, especially the least developed countries. तो उसकी वजह से food prices में काफ़ी ज़्यादा escalation आया. इसी तरह आपने जो G7 summit था, G7 summit में भी इंडिया ने एक reciprocal arrangement की बात करी थी, that yes, India will serve itself, India will help the countries in need with the food surplus that we have in our country, provided the G7 nations assure continuous fertilizer supply to our country. Continuous fertilizer supply. So of course we can tell that fertilizer supply has taken a hit globally. And major cause behind this is the crunch in Russia-Ukraine crisis. Okay, so this is approximately 1 in 10 million worldwide are suffering from hunger, right? And nearly 1 in 3 people lack resources to regular access to food. So of course, because of the pandemic and lockdown, and because of the shortage and escalation of food prices, more and more people found it difficult to get access to nutritious food. Right, they found it very difficult to access nutrition food, and all the goals are actually interrelated. It is very important for you to know that एक goal को holistically नहीं देखना है. All the sustainable, like 20 minutes more. 7 बजे क्लास है. It's live चल रहा है मेरा, मैं बताती हूँ. Okay, see, I guess rest of the report I think I will discuss tomorrow. Okay, rest of the report I will discuss tomorrow. Because of some issue I cannot complete the class, but keep watching and stay tuned. Okay, so let's cover it up fast. proportion of children under age of 5 are affected by stunting and wasting, right? Stunting and wasting से the proportion of children under the age of 5, stunting, wasting के साथ साथ childhood obesity is also on an increase, and people are finding it difficult to access nutritious food. So we have already discussed this. Ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all at all the ages. So healthy lives and well-being for all sustainable development goal है. So because the report covers a lot of aspects. COVID-19 की वजह से जितने भी psychological and mental health issues crop up होकर आए, report has also considered that. But other than that, the report has also found a trend in rising tuberculosis cases. So in diseases like malaria, tuberculosis and neonatal disease and under 5 mortality has reduced to a significant extent over the years, but for 2020 there was an increase. Okay, now the number of incidences and notifications of tuberculosis cases, they fell down, but the number of cases for tuberculosis, that increased rapidly. Okay, so the number of cases, the rapid increase in the number of cases of tuberculosis, the status of TB was noticeably very, very high for the year 2020 and in 2022. Okay, that was the first year-on-year, this because of the pandemic. Since 2005, the number of TB cases have seen a first time year-on-year increase. 1.2 million cases अगर 2019 में थे, तो पहली बार the cases have been actually on a decreasing trend, right? But 2020 में the cases increased to 1.3 million. The cases increased to 1.3 million to adopt an increasing trend in 2020, and of course there was also an incidence of underreporting of cases. Other than that, lack of access to service delivery and healthcare because of the pandemic, because of the resource burden and the crunch that happened because of the pandemic. Okay. So 2 scenarios of global progress. Malaria के cases भी increase हुए थे. Malaria के cases, they were projected on a downward trend, but because of the pandemic and because of disruption in healthcare delivery services, right, the cases of malaria have also seen a stark increase. So ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. Okay, so lifelong learning opportunities for all. So basically the report says that all the countries where schools were shut down for a longer duration, the more number of students were actually at a risk of not returning to schools because the source of livelihood was getting affected, right? And the schools were closed for 60 weeks in some countries. 60 हफ्तों तक स्कूल बंद थे, तो वो स्टूडेंट्स जो बिकॉज पैंडेमिक की वजह से स्कूल नहीं जा पाए और उनके पास डिजिटल लर्निंग का एक्सेस नहीं था, those students were more at a risk of not returning to school. Okay, and in countries where the schools basically they reopened, the countries where schools reopened, they were doing a little better, but there was a significant effect in learning outcomes. There was a significant effect in learning outcomes. As you can see, that length of school closures and the learning outcomes, this chart is showing basically an inverse relation. So okay, additional measures being taken for students' well-being. So after reopening of school, in fact अभी present में आपने एक news देखा होगा, because of the Ukraine war, the children in that country, they are being provided means of digital learning and access, and through the media of digital learning, their psychological and mental health is being taken care of by the school authorities. Okay, because war may have had, of course it definitely must have had a negative impact on school. Okay, so basically जितने भी mental and psychological support है, and of course water, sanitation and hygiene है, wash and mental health, both the aspects are being taken care of by the schools where children are returning after the pandemic. War affected children, conflict and climate affected children, and of course refugee children who have recently been displaced because of certain criteria. Women in managerial positions. So yes, women in managerial positions. So of course we all know that during the pandemic there was an issue of work-life balance because ज़्यादातर work from home चल रहा था. After that, when returnship to the workplaces started, there was a significant job loss for the women in that scenario. So yes, overall from 2015 to 2020, there have been a significant increase, but country-wise देखा जाए तो ये ratio, स्पेशली इंडिया के लिए भी मैनेजरियल पोजीशन में वुमेन का रोल इतना ज़्यादा नहीं हुआ है, बट पॉलिटिकल रिप्रेजेंटेशन ऑफ वुमेन हैव इंक्रीज्ड बिकॉज कंट्रीज लाइक इंडिया ग्रास रूट लेवल पे वी हैव 33 रिप्रेजेंटेशन और रिजर्वेशन फॉर वुमेन representatives in local politics. So that kind of balances out the participation of women. Okay, achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls. So gender equality के बारे में, gender responsive budgeting, that is gender budgeting के बारे में हमारी country में already gender budgeting होता है. We already have a women and child development ministry. Other than that, all the departments have a gender sensitive budget, that is gender budgeting. So in that aspect, I think India should fare really well. We are waiting for the report or the perspective of the Niti Aayog regarding each of the agendas that are being taken by the Sustainable Development Report. Okay, so I think we have to move the session really very quickly. SDG 14 की शायद अगर बात करें या फिर okay, we are at SDG 6. That is wash sanitation, water sanitation and hygiene के बारे में यहाँ पे बात हो रही है. So yes, that there is lack of access to water. Water crisis will increase because if we want to achieve as per the report, if all the countries want to achieve their water and sanitation level hygiene, their efforts need to increase fourfold after the conflict and the war related crisis and the disruption in global value chain. Okay, so of course, as per the report, 85% of the planet's wetlands have been lost. Okay, global coverage of drinking water, sanitation and water hygiene. So they have been affected, but not as badly because of the pandemic, but they have been affected by the war, Russia-Ukraine war. Okay, because see water stress, ये water stress map है, water stress map. You can read the legend and see India has a fair share of water stress, especially in the northern plains. Okay, so we already have initiatives like National Mission on Clean Ganga, that is Namami Gange plan, and we have other initiatives that includes restoration of water bodies and wetlands in plain regions and peninsular areas, a revival of traditional water harvesting methods like Baulis in Gujarat, right? And other than that, interlinking of rivers, that is Ken Betwa river interlinking projects that address the water drought crisis of the Bundelkhand region. So yes, our country has a fair share of water stress, and measures and steps are being undertaken to resolve them well within time, well before the crisis time, because in metropolitan cities like Delhi, per capita water demand is bound to rise by 2030. Okay, so that is one of the key issues. Ensuring access to affordable and reliable sustainable modern energy for all. So renewable energy में इंडिया में काफ़ी ज़्यादा प्रोग्रेस किया है, but other countries they lag behind a log, especially the least developed countries and African nations. Okay, you can see this from the chart itself. एशिया ने वाकई में बहुत प्रोग्रेस किया है, बिकॉज वी already have initiatives like International Solar Alliance in place, right? Ministry of New and Renewable Energy was basically formed to implement this sustainable development goal, and of course we have our goal to become carbon neutral by the year 2070. तो ये सारे aspects हैं. Share of renewable energy in total final energy consumption. टोटल फाइनल एनर्जी कंजम्पशन में रेन्यूएबल एनर्जी का शेयर कितना है? सो yes, basically the funding for fossil fuels have not shown a significant decrease till now. They have not shown a significant decrease in funding for fossil fuels till now, despite the developments in renewable energy, despite projects like National Mission for Green Hydrogen. Okay, so all these facts are there: hydropower, solar energy, wind energy, and geothermal energy. Okay, yes, worker population and worker productivity has also taken a setback because of the pandemic. Global economic recovery looks rather dismal, because you all know that global economic outlook that is published by the IMF and the World Bank, they have downscaled the global GDP growth rate to 2.3%. राइट RBI ने भी इंडिया का GDP ग्रोथ रेट 7.2% किया है, बट यूनाइटेड नेशंस एंड OECD जैसी कंट्रीज ने इंडिया का GDP ग्रोथ रेट 2023 के लिए एस्टिमेट किया है. इट इज गोइंग टू be as low as 6.4 to 6.9% range. Okay, the situation on the international arena and the macroeconomic variables, you know, they are under a crisis, they are at stake. Annual growth rate, GDP per capita, and annual growth rate of real GDP of LCDs. Okay, so these are all some of the facts. Maybe because of some technical issues, maybe because of paucity of time, I have to rush up this session. I will definitely take it up in part 2. हम लोग part 2 में इसको ज़रूर डिस्कस करेंगे. That is build resilient infrastructure, promote inclusive and तो जितने भी remaining goals हैं, we will take another class in part 2 maybe and discuss the session in full length. Okay. So I think we unfortunately have to shut down this session. So we will conduct part 2 of the same session and the same report tomorrow 6 to 7 p.m. at the same time. Okay, take care. See you, take care, and we'll meet you next time tomorrow. Bye-bye.